Tim Rosenthal, Bruins Daily. Obviously, he's praised the power play all throughout the season, but now that we're in crunch time and being a crucial factor in the series, how nice is that to have in your arsenal while also getting consistent play for your penalty kill as well?
Well, obviously the power play has helped us a lot through this series, and it certainly makes it a lot easier. I mean, we've won before without having a successful power play, but when you've got that arsenal, it certainly makes it a lot easier. Our penalty kill has been great since the beginning of the playoffs, and we need to continue to be strong in both those areas moving forward.
Kevin Dupont from the Globe. Claude, can you talk about what your game planning was going into this to take away their speed, and in the end, how do you think you did that most effectively?
Well, I felt our team is a pretty good skating team. I know we've said that all along, and for us, it was about not being intimidated by what was said or by their so-called speed, and we knew we could skate with them. But the biggest thing was that we had to close on those guys quickly, and in all areas. So when we got pucks in deep, first game we were doing a lot of rims, and they were coming out too easily. So we got to the chipping, soft chips, and laying in corners there where we were able to get there quickly, and because of that we were able to create some turnovers. But we also had our third man high on a lot of occasions because of their stretch pass, and once they got that stretch pass, the stretch pass itself wasn't an issue. It was always about the second wave coming. So by having another D and another forward high, we kind of took away, for the most part, that speed that they wanted through the neutral zone. So those kind of things worked well for us, and for most of the time. And I thought defensively, we just played our game defensively. I mean, our guys were committed to getting in the shooting lanes. We did a great job of clearing pucks in front of our net, but at the same time, our goaltender was great from start to finish.
Claude, Mike Hurley, CBS Boston, over here.
I'm sorry. Okay.
It obviously affects both teams when the penalties start really piling up there toward the end of the second into the third. But as far as your penalty killing goes, is that really as high a degree of difficulty as you could really have them go through to see them go through when they have to kill sort of penalty after penalty like that?
Yeah, you certainly don't like to see that. First of all, like I said, it wears out the same guys, and those are things that we try and stay away from in the playoffs. Penalties, and I thought it was one of those games tonight where there was a lot of penalties called. Obviously, I think 7 and 6, 13 calls tonight. So it was very uncharacteristic if you compare it to the other games.
Karen Sweetype, BostonBruins.com. As you were saying, it looked like it was a much tougher series than maybe the results showed throughout it when you guys end up with a 4-1 series victory. And let's just talk about what Detroit, how tough they were able to play against, and just how much you do respect them as an organization.
Well, you do, because number one, I thought we played really well in this series, and we had to play really well to beat this team. So our team, I don't think we had a real soft game. That first game was kind of back and forth and could have gone either way. But no matter what the score was in all the games, we really had to earn our wins, and we felt that way. And probably obviously our toughest was the one that we had to come back from in the second game in Detroit, or game 4 for that matter. But they're a good team, and with Zetterberg back and Datsuk, and then they had Alfredson, and so all of a sudden they started getting some bodies back, guys that have chemistry together. You saw it on their power play how dangerous they became, with those guys back in their lineup. So I think it was important for us to end this and not prolong it. But not only do they have some good veteran players on their team, but they also have some good young players who no doubt grew just like our young players have in the past. Through a playoff experience like that, it's something you can't buy. So there's a lot of teams right now that would love to give their young players that opportunity, and Detroit had that. And I'm sure they're going to be a better group and better players down the road because they had that opportunity to play. And we play a heavy game, so it's probably good. It's probably good on their end there to see how playoffs are played. So there's no doubt there's a lot of positive that Detroit can take out of this series.
Emily Benjamin, Boston Globe. Lucic said that he stopped overthinking starting in that third period, the last game. What did you see from him from that point on?
Well, I think just what you said, he just started playing. Sometimes, you know, you're worried about making mistakes, you're trying to do the right things all the time, and when you overthink, you know, you're hesitating, you're a little slow reacting, so, you know, I've said that often between periods or even behind the bench, let's just play, you know. We all know how to play, we all know what our system is all about, so sometimes, you know, you just gotta go out there and just skate and make things happen, and it helps, you know, or certainly in Milan's case, when he's not overthinking, his skating really picks up.
Claude, Doug Trelou, WBUR. Before the series, you talked a lot about trying to not let it extend on like the Toronto series in the opening round last year. Can you just talk about what, if things felt different and how you got the team sort of to pick things up pretty much starting in the third period of the first game? And what do you do, you know, ahead of the next series to prevent that?
To prevent what?
To prevent a drag out, you know, to keep you, to get that fast start.
Yeah, no, I think, you know, the thing is, and that's your job, you guys have to create stories, and, you know, I think a lot of it was to recreate last year's, you know, meltdown, whatever you wanna call it, from a 3-1 lead against Toronto, but, you know, as I said before the game, we don't live in the past, we don't live in the future, you know, we live in the present, and, you know, we had a 3-0 lead, and we blew it against Philadelphia, so last time we had a 3-0 lead, that has to be brought up, but that's fine. I mean, that's what you guys are paid to do, but from our end, we don't look at it the same way. We just go at it one year at a time, one game at a time, one series at a time, and there was none of that stuff crept into our heads today. We just knew that, you know, if anything, you learn from those experiences, and you don't want it to be repeated, so you just go out there and you just play, but, you know, same with the streak that we had this year. Everybody talked about it, we never talked about it in the room, so we never talked about the last year's series against Toronto. All we were focused on was doing the job today and preventing us from taking another trip to Detroit.
Chris Jericello, Bruins Daily. Chara's goal at the end of the second period, and then Lucic's goal to start the third. How big were those two goals to build a 2-goal lead when it seemed like things were getting tight when it was 1-1?
Well, it was getting tight, you know, and a lot of penalties, and again, when you're killing a lot of penalties, you lose momentum, and they picked up some momentum there at a certain stage of the game, and when you score those kind of goals, obviously Zdeno's kind of gave us the life back, or the momentum back that we needed, because they had just gotten it from us. By the time the game, you could see that, you know, they had a sense of believing, so we had to right away get that next goal and then get ourselves back on top of that game, and then Luch has done a great job. He scored some goals, and where it's impressive that most guys would just skate by the net, he stops, and if there's a puck there, he's on top of it. So he scored a lot of goals by getting a good net drive and stopping in front and then making sure he pounds those in. But those are big goals, you know, so you got a 2-goal lead and they score one, then there's no panic, you know. So I thought our guys handled it well.
Coach Joe McDonald, ESPN Boston. How emotional do you think the next series against the Canadiens is going to be?
Well, you know what, Joe, I don't mean to crush your question there, but, you know, we're so far away from thinking about that right now. We'll enjoy the win today and then the series win, and, you know, we'll kind of regroup, and maybe next time I talk to you, I'll be able to answer that question.
Claude, Andy Merrick from the New England Hockey Journal. You talked about experience a little while ago. For the younger guys on the team, for maybe a guy like Louis, what can they get out of being in a room full of guys who competed for a cup last year, a lot of them won one 3 years ago? What can they get as far as the experience and what to expect out of every game?
Well, I think when you look at Louis, I think is what are we getting from Louis? I think we're getting a lot. If you look at tonight's game, he was a real good player for us, and I think Louis just wants to be part of it. You know, he's a smart player, he's got a great stick, and that's one of the things I thought our guys did great in this series is we had good sticks. We turned pucks over, but Louis is one of the best at that. So I don't know that Louis has to learn a lot from guys that have won. He just wants to be part of it. He'll fit in, no problem. He just has to continue to play the way he has.
Claude, Mike Loftus, Patriot Ledger. Obviously, you guys have a good offensive team statistically, and you spoke about how you felt going into the series. You know, well, we have a good skating team too, but the playmaking, the rushes, the ways that you guys generated so much in the way of chances. Did you I mean, was this a little bit exceptional, do you think, in this series? Because it seemed like maybe after that first game, you really,
Well, the first game's always about, two teams kind of feeling themselves out, and then, the thing that happens after the first game is you go right back to the video and both teams look at each other's teams and they try and dissect and say, okay, this is what we can do here to create more offense, and that's what we did. Every game, we just kind of watched, our game over again, and the next day with the players, we'd kind of minimize some clips here and just kind of give them an idea of what was available and what we had to be watchful for and that kind of stuff. So those are adjustments that you make along the way, but we had a lot of chances, but we also had a lot of missed opportunities, and you saw that again today. We talked about Marshy in Detroit, but today we had some real good opportunities too that we could have capitalized on. So it's not something that this is an area maybe we can grow in as well.
Claude, Chantal Maccabé, RDS, quand tu regardes la série, les 5 matchs, est-ce qu'il y a un élément particulier qui t'a donné beaucoup de satisfaction, qui a pu faire une différence dans cette série?
Le fait qu'on a bien patiné. Je pense que notre équipe, comme un groupe, patinait bien. On a enlevé beaucoup d'espace à Détroit qui peuvent être dangereux avec le genre d'espace que tu leur donnes. Et puis, ils ont beaucoup d'habileté. C'est quelque chose qu'on a été capable de faire pendant les 5 matchs.
Jamie Arnold-Nesson, that opening shift, they kept that puck in the attacking zone for almost a minute. How influential was the start today and kind of what you guys were able to string together through the first 5, and was that kind of the biggest difference maker?
Well, this is just something that we talked about. We needed to, and that's why you see a guy like Bergie's line starting most of the games. They always get off to decent starts, and that starts with Bergie winning face-offs, and that line just seems ready to go all the time. But that sets the stage, and it was important we had talked about every line to go out there in the first couple of shifts, having some real good shifts so that we could set the tone of the game. And again, the biggest thing for our team was the pace of our game throughout the whole series, and today had to be the same. We had to have a good pace to our game, and that way, you could see that the skating wasn't a big difference from one team to another. It was the pace of the game that was important, and we were able to sustain a good pace.
We're going to take 2 more, one from Kevin and one from Scott.
Claude, you go 6 months and you go 82 games, and a lot of coaches say you never really know what you have until the playoffs start. So did you go into this series with a question or a concern about your team, and how did this address that?
Not really. I think the only thing, Kevin, was the fact that, before the series started, we had the flu bug going around, and, we were missing 7 guys there the one day, and you're kind of looking at the days go by, and you're wondering how much time you'll have to prepare your team for the series. But, I don't think I was worried about what we had personnel-wise. I was worried what we had health-wise.
Stumgoff on WEI.com. We see Dougie and Torrey jump into plays that lead to goals today, and they did that a few times throughout the series, but they're not really getting caught up by. So, just what does that say about their decision-making, that they're making those decisions and not getting caught?
Well, that's what they learn throughout the season. There's times where they did get caught, and I've got a lot of clips of that if you want. But that's how they learn. You got to teach along the way, and because they were allowed to do that, and sometimes you learn from your mistakes, you get better. And so every day these guys spend time looking at their shifts, and we spend time teaching them, and the right time to go, and not to stay in there too long, when to come back out, and so they're young players, are getting better all the time. They've learned, so that's to their credit.
Great. Thanks, everybody.